Okay, so this is chapter 17, part 2. We're just following up on uh, the process costing concept. We are going to now go through an example of how we can calculate the cost of completed and transferred out production and the cost of ending work in process inventory. Okay, so what we're going to do here, and I'm going to use a T account. Okay, so for my example, I'm going to use a T account and I'm going to put the units and the costs into it. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I think it'll be clear to see exactly what's going on. So again, this is a step that's not really done in the book. You don't need to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do that just so you can maybe visualize where the costs are going and how they're being allocated. Okay, so and basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through 4 steps. The first one is we're going to make sure that we've got all of our units accounted for. Okay, so in this particular case we're going to be using, we're going to assume that we're making some type of liquid product. Could be ice cream like they use in the book, could be paint, could be some kind of chemical. But we're going to use gallons, okay? So gallons are the unit. So we're going to make sure we know where all of our gallons are in work in process. And all we're going to do is focus on work in process because we don't care about the materials inventory account, and we don't care about finished goods or the next department that this gets transferred to. And by the way, this could be one completed and transferred out production. This could be coming from one department into the next, or this could be coming out of this department and going into finished goods. So, for instance, completed and transferred out production in this particular department would simply be the direct materials that would come in to the next department. And then additional conversion costs would be added to get it, again, moving toward a finished product. Okay, but we're just going to look at one work in process or one department at a time. All right, so first we're going to look at the units to be accounted for. Okay, make sure we've got all of our units accounted for. Then we're going to convert those units to equivalent units for both direct materials and conversion costs, because remember we're handling those different. Direct materials, remember they're going to be either 0 or 100% depending on when they're added. But conversion costs are going to be proportionally, so they can go anywhere from 0 to 100%, depending on where we are in the production process. Okay? Then we're going to, once we've done that, we're going to calculate a cost per equivalent unit so that we can then assign our costs to the production of what's completed and what's still in ending inventory. And once we've done that, all our costs will be allocated to those 2 pieces. So we'll have total manufacturing costs. They'll either be in completed and transferred out production or cost of goods manufactured, or they'll be in ending inventory. There's no other place for those costs to go. Okay, so here's our example from here on down. We've got 20 gallons in beginning inventory, 25% complete, $110. And actually before we do that, I just want to show you, so this is basically what I've done. I've set up a very large T account for work in process, and I put, you can see units here and dollars, okay? So on the debit and credit side, and remember, work in process, this is an inventory account, so this would be on our balance sheet. So debits obviously would represent increases, credits would be decreases, and credits would just be simply the items moving out of the account. Debits would be the items moving into the account, as with any asset account. So let's go ahead here. So we've got 20 units of beginning inventory at a total cost of $110. We add, and by the way, that's 25% complete. So I'm just going to put that right here so we make note of that. We add 100 gallons of direct materials. And the cost of that is $500. it says we have 40 gallons of ending inventory, and it's 75% complete. We've also got direct labor of 120, and we've got factory overhead of 90. Okay, so that's all we have. And so you think, wow, how am I going to solve this? It doesn't seem like I have enough information here. I don't know what's transferred out. I don't even know the ending inventory dollar amounts. Basically, what I'm going to want to know is, at the end of the day, I'm going to want to know this number. I want to know the ending dollars in work in process, and I want to know what's the completed and transferred out production in work in process. So I want to know the items that are completed, and I want to know what's left. So the first thing I would want to know is, what do I have? Where are my units? Okay, so let's start there. And let's see what we have. So first of all, in terms of units, I've got 20 units at the beginning. I've added another 100, so I know right off the bat I have 120 units. If 40 of them are in ending inventory, that must mean that I have, and I'm going to put total, I'm going to put completed and transferred out production. So what I have that's completed and transferred must be 80. If I have 120 units, 40 of them are still there, that means 80 of them are gone. So they must be done. So here I have 80. Okay? Now remember back up above we said that we really have three groups. We have the units in beginning inventory and the cost to complete the beginning. We also have units that we start and complete, and then we also have our ending units. So if we think about that, one assumption that we made is our beginning inventory is the first units that are completed. So beginning inventory, those are the first units that are completed. So we know that these 20 units that we started with for sure are part of the 80. In fact, they're the first ones that are done. So we've got at least 20 units, and we know that we at least have $110 of cost that's being transferred out as well. So now, if we have 20 units of beginning inventory that are complete, and we know that we have a total of 80 that were complete, then we know that we must have started and completed 60. And that gets us to 80. So what we're going to want to know, so at least now we know where all of our units are. So let's think about costs. So how are we going to allocate our costs? Well, first of all, we know what our total costs are, right? We've got $500 of direct materials, 120 of direct labor, 90 of factory overhead. So we know that we've got 710 of manufacturing costs incurred during the period. If we add that to our beginning work in process inventory, then we know we have total manufacturing costs of 820. So 820 is going to be either here in ending inventory or here in completed and transferred. So those two numbers, when added up, must be equal to 820. So how are we going to allocate those costs? Well, first of all, some of them are going to go to ending inventory, but some of them are going to go to, if we think about the three groups, some of them are going to go to started and completed. So we're going to allocate some here. And that's group 2. But if you remember, group 1 was we have some cost to complete these. beginning inventory amounts. So we're going to have some amount that gets allocated here, and that was the first group. So if we're thinking about the total cost, first of all, we have some additional costs to complete our beginning inventory, and that's group 1. We did some work to complete our beginning inventory, and therefore some costs are going to attach to the work that we did there, and that's called group 1 costs. We also did some work on those 60 units that we started and completed, so some of the costs are going to attach themselves to those units. And then we have some work that was done on units that we started but we did not complete, and they're still in ending inventory, and those are going to be called group 3 units. So if we can calculate the work and allocate the cost to groups 1, 2, and 3, then we're going to be able to solve for completed and transferred costs, because that's simply our beginning inventory of 110 plus the group 1 costs plus the group 2 costs, and we're going to know what that number is. Okay? So visually, that's what we're trying to do. All right, so I set that up like this so that we can kind of get a sense of what we're trying to do, where the costs are that we're trying to solve. Okay, so think about that cost to complete there. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause it for a moment, and we'll just set up this a grid so that we can kind of work through the numbers, and then we'll come back and we can always plug them back into this. But at least this helps us understand where the costs are and where the units are, more importantly. So what I've done is I've laid out a little grid here, and what I've done is organize them into groups. So we have group 1, which is the beginning inventory, work in process inventory, group 2, which is started and completed units, and group 3, which is the ending inventory units, and that should give us our total. Again, like we talked about before, how we're going to allocate those costs to the work that's been performed in those 3 groups, because that's the work that represents all the work we've done. There is no other work to finish up beginning, to start and complete certain units, and then to start units that haven't been complete. There is no other work that's been done. So first of all, beginning, we had 20 units. Our started and completed is 60 units. And that gave us a total completed and transferred of 80. And our ending units are 40. And that gave us a total of 120 units. So I can't emphasize how important this step is to get this correct. So many times people confuse started and completed and transferred. These are not the same numbers. Started and completed represents only what we started in the period. It does not include what was started before in another period, but we still completed it. Again, 2 completely separate concepts and numbers. So if it says completed, we're talking about completed and transferred. Only if it says started and completed are we talking about this group 2 number of 60. So in this particular example, if someone said we completed 80 units, we're talking about completed and transferred units. They would have to explicitly say it's started and completed for it to be part of the group 2 units of 60. Okay, so big difference there. All right, so and again, I think the T account is helpful to make sure, because up above it's clear that you're at 120 units. It's clear that 80 have been transferred. It's clear that 60 are the started and completed. And so when you lay it out this way, there's no question that it has to total 120 because your T account above shows the total of 120. So we're going to come back and finish this in the next part.